All right, so that Stephen, you can question for Dr. Ladis. Nicolas, you will give a question. So because that will be real clear introduction, will be tape, and then so
yeah.
what is that coming down?
I was gonna ask him if he still knows anybody from questions. So like this he knows the person. Do you know how many times?
Or maybe some of the questions will be if he met someone in one of the trips because he's been doing this 2-3 times.
Okay, there he is.
Okay.
There he is. Hello.
Hola.
Thank you for doing this again.
How's it going?
The point is,
Hola, muchas gracias por su generosidad. Vaya, qué caballero es, ¿eh?
No hay problema, no hay de qué.
Es todo un real gentleman.
¿Es la misma clase?
Es la misma clase, sí, doctor Laguille.
Chicas, ¿qué tal?
Sí. Bueno, ahora, so, Miss Tobin, we already on in date?
We're on, yes.
We are on. Okay. Bueno. Un segundo.
Yeah, no hay problema.
Of, mejor.
Okay.
Estamos, bueno, creo que tenemos que hacer una reunión luego en Jaleo.
Yeah.
Downtown, right?
Favorite.
And we will do that. So we are officially the culmination of virtual reality. And the students, after they are going to, they all prepare a question for you. Todos tienen una pregunta y luego van a hacer una reflexión final, cada uno en lo que le parece más importante de la experiencia del peregrinaje. Yo he traído, esta es una camiseta. Ups, ¿sí? Esta la camiseta la compré en el Camino de Santiago y tengo un recuerdo del... Tengo también la credencial, pero yo no he terminado el camino. Lo dejé abandonado en Sarria.
Ok.
De Sarria en adelante he de seguir. Pero bueno, esto va a ser en la siguiente etapa. Muy bien. Fenomenal. Entonces los estudiantes pretenden, como nuestro, like Gonzaga, the logo is the eagle, that las águilas vuelan alto, like high.
Yeah.
En Blessed Sacrament tenemos el bulldog.
Yep.
Entonces tomarán una foto como snapshot con el bulldog en el camino. Todo, bueno, vamos a pretender.
Qué bien.
Ellos han hecho cada día durante la semana pasada en Google Earth, en Tour Builders, han construido como el camino que lo vamos a hacer en 6 días y lo han hecho descripciones de personas que ven cruzando el puente, describen el hostal, el albergue, el alojamiento, han descrito una cena, un desayuno y después van a hacer ahora una parte espiritual en su journal, en el diario. Y creo que voy a pedirles que vengan a hacerle alguna de sus preguntas.
Muy bien.
¿Quién quiere empezar primero? ¿Quién quiere? Who would like to? Abigail.
Do you have to stay like just one day in each hostel, or can you stay more like 2 or 3?
So when you're walking on the Camino de Santiago, if you're staying in a municipal albergue, which is run by the town, they're specifically for the pilgrims. So when you get there, they usually open around 2 in the afternoon, and you have to be out around 8 or 8:30 in the morning so they can clean the hostels and make room for the next group of pilgrims that are coming that day. So usually you can only stay there for one night. But there are private hostels that are in every town as well, and you can stay there for multiple nights as well. But only the municipal hostels that are run by the town, you have to stay there. You can only stay there one night.
Muy bien. El siguiente. Pregunta. Lauren.
So like, are there hospitals along like, the Santiago?
Are there hospitales?
So the bigger the town you walk through, yes, there'll be hospitals. If you're walking through smaller towns and you're staying in a smaller town, there might not be a hospital in that particular town, but there might be one, 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers away. They have they're pharmacies. So when you're in Spain, when you, if you have any issues or any sicknesses or ailments, you can go to a pharmacy, tell them what you need or what's wrong, and they can prescribe you or give you medicine. But depending on, how big the town is, you may or may not be too accessible to a hospital.
Aiden?
So I noticed looking at the menus of the various restaurants on the Camino, in several of them, there were a lot of octopi and squid options.
Octopus.
Did you experience that on your trip?
Oh, yes. So one of the traditions on my trip with the students is, I think around the third day, we have lunch. We stop for lunch in a town called Melide, and it's known for their octopus, or pulpo is what it's called, pulpo gallego. And so we usually have, I treat the guys to a lunch, and the servers bring out some octopus, which is usually boiled, and then they bring up the whole octopus. You see the tentacles hanging down. They cut them up with scissors, and they season it with little salt, pepper, some paprika, olive oil, and you eat it with some bread. So it's pretty tasty. If you like calamari, it tastes kind of like that. It's a little chewy. So some of the guys tried it for the first time. Some liked it, some not so much. I don't mind it. But it is one of the delicacies up in that area of Spain in Galicia. So if you're in that area, you have to try the pulpo.
Normally, and just adding with this, Mr. Aguilles, they serve it also with boiled potatoes, right? Potato is the main, and it's like other places will be rice or bread. Potatoes is one of the main carbo that they serve there, right? Yeah, see. Mateo?
Do you ever contact people that you met on the trip?
So interestingly enough, when I did a bigger portion of the Camino Frances from León to Santiago de Compostela, that was 200 miles. I did that in 2014. I went there alone, and the purpose of it was to have my own experience on the Camino de Santiago, but also to do a little research on the class that I currently teach here at Gonzaga. So when I went out alone, I ended up meeting several people one was from Latvia, another person was from Sweden, another person was from Italy, another person was from South Korea. And so we ended up meeting at one particular hostel, I think my second day there. And then we ended up just walking together throughout the whole time. Some days we would end up leaving separately, but at the end of the day, we always found ourselves in the same town, in the same hostels. So it became our little group of about 5 to 7 of us walking the whole way and then ending in Santiago. And so thanks to social media and things like Facebook, we keep in touch to this day. So I always get messages back from the friends that I met from that first time, because I always post something about returning with my students, and so they always respond to those and leave little notes. So since 2014, I've been in touch with that original group of people that walked the Camino with me.
Muy bien. Nicolas?
How long does the whole trip usually take?
Our trip, so we start walking in Sarria, which is 100 kilometers, probably a little over 70 miles to the cathedral in Santiago. So the actual walking part, we have 5 days to do that. So with the travel on either end of the trip, it's probably about an 8-day trip because when we fly over there, we fly overnight. You know, so if we leave, say we leave on a Tuesday evening, we end up arriving to Madrid Wednesday morning. And then we take a train to Sarria, end up getting there at that evening. So it's a long travel day going there. And then coming back again, we travel back down by train to Madrid from Santiago, usually spend the night in Madrid and fly out. So it ends up being around 8 or 9 days because of the travel portion of it. But the actual pilgrimage that we do, the section that we do, it takes 5 days.
Now we be Gregorio.
Do you like the food better on the trip or in America?
Do I like the food better on the trip or?
Or like here?
In Estados Unidos.
So it's different. I love Spanish food. When I go over there, I know I'm going to eat really well because I enjoy Spanish cuisine. I love the jamon serrano. I love the bread that they have over there. I just love how they prepare everything. So there's some similarities. A lot of meals sometimes will come with fries, you know, and fries are one of my favorite foods. So it's just different. And we mentioned octopus. I don't get that a lot here. So when I go there, I know that it's going to be good. And the food is going to be quite delicious in Spain. So I do like the food in Spain. I love it. There are things that I like here in the U.S. I like chicken wings a lot. You know, I like pizza. But I really try and branch out when I go to Spain to try things and eat things that I know I won't get here in the States. And I try and tell my students to do the same thing. But for some reason, somehow they still find the fast food places in the bigger cities like the McDonald's and the Burger Kings, which I tell them to try and stay away from because you can get that stuff here and try and be a little bit more adventurous when you're in another country and try and taste the local cuisine. So at the end of the trip, we went out to dinner with them, and I ended up ordering a bunch of tapas, things for them to try. And some were surprised at how good the food actually was when they did try it.
Uno de los platos que preparan, bueno, es la empanada gallega.
Uh-huh.
¿Le gusta?
I love it. Me encanta.
Le encanta. Empanada gallega.
Mm-hmm.
All the. You want to describe it? Empanada.
The empanada gallega.
Sí.
So it looks more like the ones that I've had come in more of a rectangular tray that they cut up kind of like a cake in square pieces. Sometimes the empanadas that we have here in other countries are more sort of oval, kind of half moon shaped, and a wrap that have a filling inside of it. But the empanada gallego is a little bit different. It still has the crust. And it still has your filling, but it comes just a little bit in a different shape.
Mm-hmm. Enrique, you have la pregunta.
How many days did you spend in Santiago?
So we arrived at Santiago de Compostela around noon, and we had the whole afternoon and evening there. And then we didn't leave until the following day around 3 in the afternoon to take a train. So we had a good amount of time to spend in Santiago. We ended up going to the Pilgrim's Mass, which they have every day at the Cathedral of St. James. So every day at noon, there's a special Mass just for the pilgrims who have arrived to Santiago. And then the rest of the time, you know, a lot of the students wanted to just rest a little bit, stay in a hotel, take a nice hot shower. Walk around the city and do some shopping, get some gifts for their family. But we spent a good amount of time there, about pretty much a full day, essentially.
And Ronald?
How many times have you been on?
How many times? Let's see. Since 2014 was my first time. And then with this class, this was the 3rd year that we've done it. So that was my 4th time doing the Camino.
Esteban?
When you go on a trip, what do you pack? Like, do you pack really conservatively? You only wear like a backpack or something?
Yeah, so that's a great question. A big part of this trip is learning to live simply. And with this type of trip, we're only carrying what we need on our backs. So I tell the guys to pack light. There's an opportunity to wash clothes. So the pack that I had was, it was a 60-liter pack, which is a little big, but I only packed it halfway. So I ended up having probably around 18, 17 pounds worth of clothes. That included a sleeping bag that compressed really small, and then several pairs of, I think a couple pairs of pants, and then several pairs of shirts and a vest and a puffy jacket. But again, we were able to wash clothes, so that helped out with not having to pack too much. The first time I did it in 2014, I overpacked. I had no idea what to expect. I was also there in the summer, in June. So it got really hot after the sun came up. So I ended up actually leaving a lot of stuff from my pack at hostels. A lot of hostels have donation bins. So I ended up emptying a lot of the stuff out of my pack and leaving it at the hostels just in case another pilgrim came along and needed, an extra shirt or needed a pair of pants if they had lost one or if they wore through their clothes.
And Thomas?
What was your favorite town to walk through and why?
Oh, favorite town. Let's see. Aside from arriving in Santiago de Compostela, that's an easy answer because I did like that town. I liked, let's see here. There's a little town called, I think it was Ribadizo, which was a town I wouldn't even say it was a town. It was a small little stop for where our albergue was. And it was right next to a stream. And this albergue, it used to be an old hospital back in medieval times, but they remade it so that it was just a hostel for the pilgrims. And all that's there is just the actual structures, a couple structures that were the dormitories right next to a stream, and then there's a little cafe. So it was really quiet. There's no one really that lived there, but the nearest town was about 5 kilometers up a hill. And so I liked that town just because it was nice just to have our own little space. And the only other people there were the pilgrims. And so they had this nice stream that we could sit next to and dip our feet into. When we were there this past spring break, it was raining a lot. So the stream was actually more like a river. So it's pretty rough. But I like I favor the smaller towns. We can really, walk through the whole town within like 5 minutes. You really get to see the people that live there and meet some of the locals.
Muy bien. Kyson?
Is it possible for disabled people to go on the Camino de Santiago? And if so, are there any special programs or anything for that?
Could you repeat that?
Kyson, louder.
Come up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very good question. Yes.
Is it possible for disabled people to go on the Camino de Santiago? And are there any special programs for that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I know that there are some difficulties if you are, say, in a wheelchair and trying to go through the Camino. I feel like I've heard stories of people that actually have done that. They have people with them to help push the wheelchair. I think there are programs where you can have your bags and you can have your luggage and bags delivered to the next spot, so you don't have to deal with your bag. I can see how that could help out. But when I was there, I don't think I saw many people that were disabled. Definitely I've definitely seen people on crutches that were, missing a leg and they needed crutches. But in terms of wheelchairs, I feel like, and I need to research this, I feel like I've read about people who have done it in wheelchairs. But that's actually a really good question to research and see if there are organizations or programs that help people do that.
Muy bien. And we can Madison now. They are sitting back, so they are coming a little bit closer.
So felt a little studious, and I got 2 questions.
Fantastic.
Okay.
So
Hello.
here is Madison.
Hello.
My first question is, who has the priority to take place in shelters?
Who has a priority to take?
Place in
Place.
shelters?
Oh, so with you mean the hostels and albergues? So if you have your pilgrim passport, your credencial, you're allowed to stay in the municipal hostels, right? It's first come, first serve. So if you arrive there and you're one of the first people, and the hostel, they're usually pretty big. Let's say they can take about 300 people, we'll say. Obviously, if you're within that first 300, you can stay there. Otherwise, you'll have to find another option. And there are usually multiple hostels and albergues in a particular town. I think by around 1:30 or 2, people are starting to line up, especially in the summer months when it's more busy. And I think if you're not there by 5:30 or so, then you might have to look for a different hostel that's apart from the municipal one.
Okay. And then my other question is, can the Camino be made with pets?
Yes. Dogs in particular. There's what's interesting was the first hostel that we stayed in Sarria. It was called Albergue San Lázaro. And I've been seeing lately on their Facebook page, on their social media, that there's actually programs where you can go with your dog and take your dog on the Camino. And so you'll see that there are dogs all around towns, and they have owners. They just happen to be friendly dogs, and they'll kind of follow you along the way. But I believe you can bring your own pet. You can bring your dog and have your dog go with you. Other pets, I'm not sure too much about cats, or want to take your pet parakeet. I don't know about that. But definitely it's a dog-friendly experience, and there are organizations that specifically exist to help you, to guide you with your dog.
Thank you.
Gracias. And we have now Haley is coming up.
All right. These are great questions.
Gracias. Esta fue la tarea que prepararon anoche.
Ah, qué bien.
Sí, que cada uno preparase una pregunta. Yes.
When do you finish school?
On the June 2nd is their graduation.
Today's our last day.
Oh my gosh.
We have exams next week and then we're done.
So this is your reading week.
Yeah. Tomorrow is our optional day. So the students can, if they want to come to school to see their teachers, they can, or they can stay home and study for exams.
I see. Some of the students here, Dr. Laguilles, are going to take the placement test after their graduation here. So
Wow. That's right.
You may see them.
That's right.
We kept Haley coming.
Oh, okay. So on average, you want me to
You want to come
talk about
to camera?
Okay. On average, how many hours of sleep do you get a night?
Very good.
That depends on how well you can sleep through people snoring. Some days you're really tired and you can sleep a good 8 hours. Usually lights out is 10 p.m. And then people start waking up around 6 a.m., sometimes even earlier. But you are sleeping if you're in the municipal hostel, you're sleeping in a room shared with about 40, 50 other people in bunk beds. So not a lot of privacy. And if people snore, which happened a lot during our experience, you might be up. So earplugs really help with that. I would say I averaged about 6 or 7 hours of sleep when I was over there, which wasn't bad. But I slept pretty hard because I was tired. You're walking all day. You're expending a lot of energy. So once you hit the pillow, once your head hits the pillow, I was out pretty quickly. And I'm a heavy sleeper.
So Dr. Laguilles, the mass that is celebrated at the cathedral, and then you will get the certificate in Latin. But the mass is how many languages they normally address for the service?
Well, at least for the pilgrim mass at noon, they always do that in Spanish. depending on the priest, I do recall the priest did a greeting in several different languages, at least 7 different languages, I think. But it was mainly done in Spanish for the pilgrim mass. I'm not sure if they offer other masses in other languages throughout the day, but I know that the noon mass was always a pilgrim mass, and that was always done in Spanish.
So this course you are doing at Gonzaga is an elective course?
Correct. It's a half-credit elective course for juniors.
And it's cross-curricular with religion?
Correct.
And it's offered to juniors and seniors?
That's right. This year, we only had 4 seniors do it. Last year, we had a mix of juniors and seniors. But it depends on a particular student's schedule and how much, how stressful his class schedule might be. But the class also, it meets before school every Tuesday and Thursday at 7:20 in the morning. So the guys have to get up a little early and make it to class a couple times a week for a semester. So that
the course is 1 semester or?
Just 1 semester, just during the spring semester.
Right. Do you have any other curiosity to wrap it up? Mateo?
What is your electronics policy for the trip?
Great question. So as you all know, phones are such a, everyone has a phone and everyone's like this the whole time. But, since we are dealing with students, they're seniors, and they're responsible enough and old enough to make the right choices. So we sit down with them during class and we ask them to come up with what they think should be an appropriate policy for phones. We do need them to have phones just for safety reasons, because a lot of times while we're walking, we will spread out a little bit. And students, some might be further ahead, some might be further behind. There's Wi-Fi available in all the bars and cafes that we go through. So when they have coffee or when they have snacks, they can hook up to the Wi-Fi. So for those reasons, we need them to have the phone. We don't want to take their phone away from them. But the rules that they came up with were, to really immerse themselves in the experience and to, as much as possible, not use their phone. If they want to take pictures, that's fine. Or if they want to use it to check in with the group through our text applications. But the idea was to make sure that they are making time for themselves to be able to reflect, do some personal reflection, and also to talk with each other and also to meet other pilgrims. You can't meet anyone if your face is in your phone the whole time. And I think they did a really good job with policing themselves and keeping themselves accountable in terms of their device usage. So I was pretty proud of them for that.
I am also I give it this question. Did any of the students in the last 2-3 years that you've been doing the experience, El Camino, got ill? ¿Se han enfermado?
The first time the student didn't get sick, he had an ingrown toenail, which I don't know if anyone has had, but it can be pretty painful. And he didn't tell us he had this until like the second day when he was complaining that his foot hurt a lot. And so I had him take his shoe off and his sock, and he said, "Oh yeah, I have an ingrown toenail." So I was a little upset about that, not knowing, but we were able to figure it out and get him a walking stick, and we went to a pharmacy to get some bandages to help cover it up. But luckily not yet. No one has gotten sick doing the Camino yet. I was surprised because this past spring break was a little wet, a lot of rain, but no one really got sick. There's usual aches and pains and sore knees and sore backs and shoulders from the weight of your bag, but luckily we haven't had anything serious like that happen.
That's good. ¿Tenéis alguna otra pregunta? Kyson Taylor? Kyson has one more. Probably are going to wrap up, but
Great.
You are super generous, really.
Oh yeah, my pleasure.
Do you bring any food with you, or do you get it all along the way?
I just got food there. I didn't want to bring too much with me in my pack. Some of the students and the other chaperone that went, they did bring some trail mix and some energy bars. But when you're there, you're going to you'll see supermarkets, and I got a lot of snacks at the supermarkets every day. So it wasn't what I was used to in terms of the energy bars or snacks that I usually get here, but there are a lot of similar items that you can find in the supermarket. And it was a little bit easier to do that there than having to carry around a lot of extra food in my pack.
How many students do you invite to go to? Which is the criteria that you get? They have to be honors students. You have to get the criteria that you invite the apostles, kind of, for your pilgrimage.
What we usually do is we advertise it out to the student body, and it's really, we don't really put too many restrictions on it. And we always say, if you're interested in learning about the Camino de Santiago, if you're interested in taking a capstone style class where you can have an opportunity to reflect on your high school career, where you've been, where you are, where you hope to be, if you're willing to go through, a little bit of pain and suffering walking the Camino, then you're a good candidate. We do have some essay questions we ask them to fill out just so we get to know the student a little bit better and their motivation. But we usually will get 3 or 4 or 5 students interested, and we'll talk to them. And then by the fall, so next fall, we'll talk to the students who are interested and kind of get their commitment, and they'll pay some deposits down. But we really try and leave it open to all kinds of students. You don't necessarily have to be a Spanish student. We had guys that went on a trip this year. One was a student, he took Latin. Another one took Chinese, so they didn't really go into it knowing Spanish, but they picked a little bit up. But it also was another added challenge that they were willing to take on in terms of the communication. So we try and leave it open to whoever is open to the idea and open to the class.
So I think we are great. This has been super informative, and we are extremely grateful.
I'm glad.
And I will follow up with you, Dr. Laguilles, for some tapas, maybe.
Sure.
Pulpo. I just tried this new restaurant called Del Mar.
I've been at the wharf.
At the wharf.
Yeah, I've been there.
The pulpo is superb, right?
It's incredible. That place.
The chancurro, which is sweet bell pepper, that is stuffed with crab.
Yes.
And that is super. Yes, Del Mar.
Del Mar.
The lady Maria is from Spain.
Yes.
She's from Mallorca, right? And
I believe so.
Is the famous trabocchi from Italy, I think. Italian.
Yeah, it's Italian, Spanish.
And it's the best combination for food.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Well, one of the best.
It's a great area now that they developed that whole area by the wharf.
Exactly, it's beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Stunning. Well, thank you so much. Muchísimas gracias.
De nada. Gracias a ustedes. Muy buenas preguntas.
And buen camino.
Gracias, igualmente.
Hasta pronto. I will be in touch with you soon.
Chao y buena suerte.
Buena suerte con los exámenes.
Gracias.
Adiós.
Bye, adiós.
Adiós. Bye.
Bye.
Muy bueno.
Okay.
Gracias, mi señora
De
Donna.
nada.
Qué bien, ¿no? So you like